Hey everyone, welcome to week 3 of the UN01 module. There's not much to say this week that hasn't been said in the tutorial from last week. If you did miss that, here's just a couple, key points. We talked about what was going on this week and sort of took some extra tips and some extra support. The summary of those when it comes to taking photographs is when you are taking a shot, remember when you're more often than not using a camera, like a phone camera, to think about whether you're doing landscape or portrait. So when you do take the photo afterwards, when you're transferring it to, let's say, a post or a submission, you do need to think about the sizes that you want or the spacing that you're allocating. So if you are doing a shot, sort of a wide shot, then it's best to take the photo in a wide frame. So just thinking of that ahead of time. Then when it comes to lighting, remember that overcast outside is like the perfect lighting. It really gets all the colors out. Otherwise, just lots of lighting is always helpful. You want to try to get like that nice blended even light to really get as much as you can. And then when it comes to background, remember that you want to showcase something specific. So let's say it's this little notepad. Well, if you take a photo sort of like this, with everything in the background is being seen, and that's not necessarily what you want to be doing. So instead, just think about covering the background or making it a useful background or something that helps the style or the aesthetic. So in this case, it could be about just taking the photo with this as the background to give a neutral shot, or if it's something about like this is a completely reusable, sustainable material, then it might be useful to take like a plant or something and then have it sort of together in this sort of in the background, so it gives that idea in the back of your mind, and it's being more effective than not having it in the first place. Then otherwise, we also talked about critiques. Now remember that it isn't about I like or I don't like. The moment that you see something and you say like, well, I like it because it's cute, it's putting the onus on yourself. Whereas the critique that you want to be providing, if you say something like I like this, da 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 da, then someone else can go and criticize you, and that's not what you want to be doing. You want to be criticizing sort of the object. So you'll say that this works because of this, or like these concepts, or this theory matches well with the brief or with the concept or with the idea. So just putting the theories behind what you want to say or what you're criticizing. We talked about some of those in the tutorial. It's things like color theory, design principles, so Gestalt principles, like repetition and symmetry. And what else did we talk about? It's cohesion to a brief, so how close it responds to the brief, and if it looks at the entire problem sort of in a complex way or in its entirety in a systemic way, so that you're not just thinking about the direct users that the brief is talking about, but maybe some of the users that the client or the project hadn't considered in the first place. That's about it. Oh, and in terms of critique, it's not about being positive or negative. That's not really appropriate when it comes to critique. It's about talking about what works and what should be worked on. So it's nice to have that kind of attitude when you're going into doing a critique. Right. I also wanted to add, we talked about the UN01 module and sort of following not the tutorial, but the course. One of the suggestions that I made was to sort of burn through the entire week of content at the beginning of the week, just to be able to look at how much time different activities take, get an idea of some of the main titles, some of the photos, so that it gets into your system, and you can start organizing your week ahead of time, rather than sort of trying to do these a 4-hour bunch. Oh, I'll do that Thursday, when in reality you could do that one, yes, Thursday, but there's a lot of things ahead of that you can do beforehand when you have the time. Another suggestion is, when it comes to the module itself, consider looking at each block. They all have a TMA at the end, which is a tutor marked assessment. Look at what that's requesting or asking of you, and that can be a good starting point for how you're going to record your notes or study when it comes to that point, or keep track of the content that you want to bring into the project afterwards. Otherwise, I've learned, this is my first teaching experience at the OU, so I took some of the experience that I had from previous universities and I brought it in with the same mindset. And with that being said, The office hours aren't actually really appropriate for this course, only because the content itself is quite well detailed and it actually is much more of a hands-off approach when it comes to tutoring, simply because the content is well explained and you don't need the continued support of a tutor sort of helping with the concepts or developing them because they're being developed in the course. That being said, if there is still anything that you need to talk about, any concerns that you have, any questions that you have, you can of course email me, you can call me, you can text me. Realistically, let's text first, only because there's a very good chance that I won't pick up on the call. So text me first and then we can of course call about it, or over Skype or Zoom or Microsoft Teams. There's a million of them now. So that's about it. Feel free to contact me, go through the course module over the next week. There shouldn't be anything overly strenuous. It's some pretty straightforward theory. Enjoy and do a lot of experimenting with it, because I think it's some fun weeks. So there's a lot of sort of enjoyment out of the concepts and the theories, and they are pretty good foundations for the rest of the module. So just be aware of what that means. Otherwise, yeah, I hope you enjoy your week, and I will speak to you next week. Great. See you.